friends, and welcome back to Plow and Pantry and to the last update of this year's October freezer clean out challenge. This week I was trying to hit it hard around all the busy moments, but I did get a lot used out of the freezer. I'll do before and after pictures at the end. I actually have two different after pictures and I'll explain that. So we left off, last Saturday. I had made cherry turnovers from the deep freezer for breakfast, which, by the way, if you're just joining me and haven't followed along with this was a challenge where I was trying to clean out space in my deep freezer. I do this every October. In my deep freezer, and this year I kind of threw in trying to ease up on my indoor fridge freezer a little bit just because it's gotten out of control. But I'm just trying to make space for holiday meat deals and for a few prep ahead holiday freezer meals. I don't normally do those, but in the holiday season I do because it's busy and I like to eat at home. So having some of those things ready. And also I wanted to be able to have space for some holiday baking that I do ahead of time to save me. I make these Christmas baskets that I give to people, family, friends, and it has cookies, fudge, that kind of stuff in it. And I always make some of the cookies ahead of time and freeze them to save time when it's time to give the baskets away. That way everything can be still good. Because I don't always have time to do all the baking like the day and the day before the baskets go out. Anyway, so last Saturday in my update, I think I told you guys we had done the cherry turnovers from the deep freezer for breakfast. Let's see, after that we were at tennis camp, work, shopping at night, and so we just made subs. So Saturday, that was all we had was the cherry turnovers. So Sunday, October 22nd, I used some black beans from the freezer. So when I cook dry beans, I normally can them so that they're easy to use, but sometimes I need to get some dry ones cooked because they're starting to get old. Beans will get old. They don't store as well as some things unless you store them exactly right, and they will get, they'll get hard and hard to cook. So if every January when I'm cleaning stuff out and I take out the ones that are gonna be dying off that year, and I can them, or I will cook and freeze them. I don't always have time to can them. So that was a batch of those. I put them in freezer bags, 2 cups in a freezer bag, so that it equals 1 can in a recipe. So I used one of those for nachos that night. We had, again, if you haven't followed my videos, every Sunday night we do an appetizer leftover, either tailgate in the living room or movie night type thing. So nachos were one of the things we had that night with the frozen beans on them. I also pulled out a box of frozen pumpkin spice waffles. They were from a different freezer, so I'm not really counting them. They weren't from my deep freezer. I did have a giant bag, Costco size bag of nuggets in there, and I used half of it on that appetizer night. I still have half the bag in the deep freezer. And I also had in the inside freezer 1 final breakfast corn dog from the week before, and I pulled that out. So that was Sunday. We actually went through quite a bit for just appetizer night on Sundays. Monday, I pulled out a beef cap for Korean barbecue burritos. I made a video on that. It was Croctober, great crock pot recipe. We love that in our family. But that was a beef cap, which is, I've never seen anything with that name. That was from Butcher Box, but it's like a roast. It was a really good looking roast and it tasted great, but it was just like a small roast. I also pulled out breakfast cookies. I made those in batches that freezer breakfast cooking day. If you haven't seen that video where I batch cooked a whole bunch of stuff for the freezer for breakfast, I will link that. And I also pulled out some fruit and frozen banana for smoothies. I did not get a picture of the smoothies, I don't think, so sorry. And then I remembered to thaw chicken for tomorrow, the next night. So Tuesday night, October 24th, I pulled out some breakfast burritos from the freezer, also from that same cooking breakfast day. I used the chicken I had thawed for some chicken soup, chicken potato soup I made, and the end of the box of frozen breadsticks. So I'm doing well so far this week, right? Wednesday, always a busy day. We had Hot Pockets in the morning for breakfast. That was it. So I used 2 little Hot Pockets from the freezer. The rest of the day was crazy. Actually, I pulled out I was home for lunch that day. I forgot, I wasn't planning on this, but I was in the mood for pizza, and I've been experimenting. I've been trying to go with less gluten because it's just wrecking my body these days. And I've been experimenting with different frozen gluten-free pizzas. So I had pulled one of those out. I have a couple out in the freezer to try. It was a Mama Cozy's one from Aldi. I normally like, our family loves their frozen pizzas, the Mama Cozy's. I wasn't a big fan of the gluten-free cauliflower crust one. It was just, it tasted fine. The crust was very floppy. Like you could scrape your finger through it and pull like a finger full of crust and stuff out. To be honest though, I didn't cook it according to package directions. Those things always say to put them directly on the rack, and I never do that because some part always falls down, whether it's one tiny little bit of pepperoni or a tiny crumb of crust, always falls down to the bottom of the oven and then burns, and I don't like that. And I didn't feel like getting out a sheet pan to put underneath it. So I had put it on something. So that might be why the crust was that way. Let's see, so Thursday, October 26th, I found in my indoor freezer, I was looking for something else, I found a Ziploc bag of a juice I had made a long time ago, like through a juicer. It was purple. I'm not quite sure what I put in it. Besides, I could definitely taste some apple and some strawberry in there. But I decided to thaw that and drink it that day, and I did. Okay, I pulled out some more chicken and made, did I pull out? No, it was the same chicken. So I had pulled out chicken for that chicken soup on Tuesday, but I didn't need all of the package for the soup. So I used the rest of the package to make a green chili chicken rice casserole, which for some reason my kids don't like the name of. I think it's very descriptive, but they love the casserole, so they never complain about it. They just are always like, we need to name this something else. And then on Friday, I pulled out some more bacon for breakfast, and then also I finished up a few bags of partially used frozen vegetables, which was fun to like get some bags out of the way, even though they weren't taking that much space. We had ramen bowls for dinner, and with ramen bowls, we use like frozen peas and frozen corn and frozen carrots. And so I used half a bag of corn, the rest of it still in there. But I had a partial bag of peas and a partial bag of corn, and I finished using those up, got them tossed. That was the only thing from the freezer for that. And then we also had some pot pies in the freezer. My husband likes chicken pot pie. So he convinced me to buy this big box of Marie Callender's ones at Costco a while ago, and then decided that he doesn't like the frozen ones. He only likes them homemade. So they've been just sitting in there, and I was like, you know what? We're gonna pull these out and we're just gonna eat them. And that was lunch that day. People were home. It was a different day at school. There was testing and stuff going on, so it was a different schedule. So that was the pot pies for lunch. And that was just, I got those completely out, except for one I purposely kept for a basket of frozen and canned meals I'm putting together for somebody. So that was the end of the freezer challenge. I did better this past week than the other weeks, I think. I'm trying to scroll back through. So I have a before and an after picture. And the before picture, it doesn't look that different from one to the other, even though I've used all this stuff from the freezer. But what this did was it allowed me at the end, and this is the second after picture, it allowed me to have this space to rearrange things, which makes more space, because at some point it gets to where like it's full and you're just kind of tucking things in where you can find little spots. And this allowed me to just take stuff out, put like things that were like shaped together more back to the categories they used to be in, kind of clean it up a bit, which added a lot more room, which was awesome. One of the things a freezer challenge or a pantry challenge will do for you, I've been doing them for a long time. In the beginning, what you learn is what you don't plan well for. And I'm kind of past that point. What I'm low on, I know I'm low on. Like I know I'm low on salt in my big pantry, and I need to stock that. I know I haven't done that well stocking toiletries. But what I learned this time in doing my pantry challenge, and it was so soothing to my soul, was that I have more food than I think I do. And that was calming to me, because with everything going on in the world, you know, I've learned from when I was young to like always have extra, and I've had times in my life where that was needed and we used that extra. But with stuff going on in the world, it's tempting to kind of hoard almost and be like, I might need to have this. There is more disruption. There's just gonna be more problems ahead with getting a hold of the things you need. But to go through for that month and try to focus on using that and not even being able to really clear completely 2 shelves just made me feel better about the situation I have, or at least, my situation, how much I've prepped, because I wasn't trying to use up my pantry. I wasn't trying to use up my other deep freezer. I wasn't hitting my indoor freezer really hard. I wasn't hitting my refrigerator fresh food really hard. I was just trying to make space out there in prep for November and December. And that was successful. I have room for what I need to do out there. I have already seen a great deal at the grocery store I'm gonna go get later today, because I'm allowed to now. And then, but it just, I've been for a long time, I've felt like I've been prepping to have a full year, but now I realize looking at my stuff, I'm like, we could eat for a full year. And like this coming January, everyone always does a pantry challenge. I usually do one in February because I like all the January deals. There's also great deals in January. But this year I was considering not doing that at all in January or February because I was like, I don't know that I want to deplete our supply at all. But I'm looking at it now with a fresh light going, you know what? I can do a month and we'll still be okay. And that feels really good and calming right now. I am contemplating doing my pantry challenge in January this year, just because that's when everyone else does it. Let me know if that's something, if you have a preference of January over February. I usually just did it in February because it's the end of the fiscal quarter, so a lot of deals. People also do no spenduary in January. I also do that in February. It's just better planning for me, but at the same time, if that's when everybody's interested in pantry videos, then that's when I might do it. Just something I'm thinking about in my head. I'd love to hear below if you participated in a pantry challenge or a freezer challenge, or have been doing anything to try to use up what you have or make space or anything like that this month, and how it went for you. And I hope to see you guys soon again.